Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris. Thank you so much for joining me today. This video, I am finally dabbling and getting my feet wet into, yes, CNC again. I used to have a previous machine. I got a beast now. It's right here. The thing is awesome. Let me show you the two projects that I made to get started. One, a commission. Two, something really handy to help me in my shop. Let's go. So a little overview before we get started. Here is the machine working. You can see there's an MDF waste board that I installed, and I'm gonna put in some reference lines here and actually flatten the piece as well. That way it's flat in reference to the machine. Well, I should have done this in reverse order. I should have flattened it first and then put the lines in, but the lines were carved a little bit deep, so it ended up working out okay. Now, to do all this stuff, I'm using a program called Vcarve Pro. It's by a company named Vectric, and I'm gonna link them down below too. It is a pretty comprehensive and really precise program, and it does a really good job. It was a little bit of a learning curve, not gonna lie, but it's finally clicked and I feel great about it. And once you get everything done, digitally fabricated, it's time to cut your wood, put it on, and see what you can do. So there are multiple ways to adhere the piece to the CNC. Now, I'm using holdfast that I made here in the shop, just with a panhead screw and these little things that kind of hold everything in place. You can see it works pretty well. You could also use the blue tape and CA glue trick. I'm sure you guys mostly know what that is. Or you can simply screw down or brad nail down this piece on the corners where you know you're not gonna cut, so that you can do that too. Also, this is gonna be flooded with resin, and so far, that's pretty darn cool, man. When you set this thing up and see it work for the first time, it's like magic. So we're using Total Boat's high performance 2-to-1 ratio resin here. I've mixed it up with some charcoal pigment, and then I'm transferring it to another cup, stirring it up a little bit more, and then you're good to go. And I have people ask me, you know, they're intimidated by resin and they just can't seem to get it to work right. And 9 times out of 10, they aren't stirring it long enough, and they're not transferring it to another cup to get rid of all the resin that may not be incorporated. So those two tips, huge when you're working with this stuff. Now, you can use a belt sander or a disc sander with a pretty aggressive sandpaper to get this done, but I've got this drum sander here to help me kind of speed things along in production, and this works pretty well as well. You can see once it starts to reveal itself, again, it is kind of like magic, and it's really neat to see that in this hobbyist shop of mine that I can do these professional results, and it's awesome. It's just so cool. As you can see, the sign says, please leave all deliveries here. And basically this is, with the pandemic we're living in, of course, you know, this guy wants a very clear spot on his front porch to leave things like groceries and meals. And why not do it in class and style? Check that out. So I just give a flood coat of mineral spirits just to show you what it's gonna look like, but he's gonna finish it himself. Now on to designing a shop-made functional piece. Check this out. I just kind of used the tools right here in Vcarve to carve this thing out. I then repeated it 4 times and nestled them together on one sheet of wood. And these are going to be the hooks that are going to kind of really help me get this cord or this dust hose out of the way. Again, you can just staple your piece down if you know you're not going to cut into the corners. Not that big a deal. And we're going to let it do its thing. So when you're cutting things on the CNC, it's definitely advised to leave these things called tabs involved. You don't want these pieces, once they're free and cut and the spindle's still working, you don't want those to just get dislodged and mess everything up. It can happen. So put tabs in pieces that are gonna be cut all the way through. And then pretty simply, you just kind of use a pry bar or a scraper like I am and pry the thing up off the brad nails. And you got some, you know, some ducks left over. All right, so right now this piece is still all intact, and I'm using one of these oscillating saws that's just gonna make quick work of cutting those tabs off. Now, it's not like you can just digitally fabricate things and wham bam, you're done. No, you actually gotta spend a little time. You gotta take care of some sanding, you gotta make some adjustments, and I'm using a spindle sander and a disc sander to make quick work of getting rid of these tabs. Just kind of clean things up a bit. You know, there is still some woodworking involved, believe it or not. So now it's time to take a 1/4 inch round over bit, and we're gonna soften up all the edges here. You can see I'm just doing this really quickly on all of these pieces, and I realize I got these bench cookies. Why not use these as well? This stuff makes quick work of routing jobs where you got to elevate your piece above your workbench so you don't damage your workbench as well. The thickness of this material isn't 3/4 of an inch. It's only 5/8. And about that, well, if it was 3/4 of an inch, I wouldn't have to prop it up. I could just round it over, no problem. But you know what? I was wondering if you guys were gonna ask, and thank you for doing so. What are you gonna do with all the waste? Well, there is no waste because you gotta be mindful. I'm gonna take this over to the table saw. I'm gonna cut all this stuff down and I'm gonna use this in the next step. The idea here is to not have as much waste as you might think, even though you are carving things out on a CNC. So real quickly here, I'm just making a few cuts and you're gonna see that I'm gonna make a bracket. A makeshift dado is coming your way very quickly right here from A Glimpse Inside. I'm just kidding. Essentially what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these pieces over to the workbench. I'm gonna make a few marks and basically I am gonna make a makeshift dado. Essentially putting one strip down with the thickness of the bracket involved as well. Once I do that, throw some glue in there, along with some brads, put the piece in. Now, I could have fabricated this bracket as well on the CNC, but at this time, I didn't have any digital calipers, and I just didn't want to take the risk on not getting the exact measurement. So now that I do have some digital calipers, I could do something like this in the future. So you'll see that eventually one day. But for this application, why not keep it old school and do it by hand? All right, now it's time to install these things. And basically I've got myself up on a ladder. I've got the screws already kind of put in there a little bit, and I'm just screwing them to the wall with a spacer block. That spacer block is gonna allow me to keep these at an even height all the way around. Now you can see I've installed 2, and then there's the third one. And now I'm just trying to pick my brain on what I'm gonna do. I can't just really install it here. There's just too much play. Can I do this? Nah, that's kind of ugly. Well, what I'm gonna end up doing is putting something where you see me holding it right there. So I've cladded this wall now in hardwood, or plywood for that matter, and solid wood walls. And then I've come up with this. This is a little tray or a trough that the hose is gonna sit in. I tack it in place with brads and I finish the job with some screws. And this was one of those pieces that turned out better than expected. I'll explain why in just a second, but for right now, I'm gonna test it out, see how it goes. Looks like it's doing pretty well. I like the fit. I like the concept of this. Really happy, but you know what, hold on. You can do better. Straighten that thing out, man. You don't want anybody's head getting hit on that. Pretty cool stuff. All right, let me bring you in here and explain this unexpected feature of this trough. Okay, so I'm gonna share with you kind of a happy accident that happened here while making this trough. Yep, I made it off camera, but I made it with one specific design in mind, and that was to keep the hose compressioned in there. So this thing really is not moving too much. This was designed to be 1/8 of an inch narrower than the diameter of this hose. So it works, but there's a happy little thing that happened that is probably cooler than I thought. So what you can do is, this is kind of in the way. I mean, you get it, not that I'm gonna be walking here that much, but you know, you might, I don't know. So here's what you can do. You basically can measure out how much hose you need for the project, which is great, and then push the accordion style hose back in on itself, okay? Gets it all tucked out of the way. How cool is that, right? And that's what we want to do here now. I've been absolutely hugely excited to get with this Penguin CNC and just really try to figure out what it can do. And my goodness, am I learning so much so fast. I was intimidated by it at first. Really, I was intimidated by the software side of things. However, I'm learning Vectric. I'm learning Vcarve, or Vcarve's Vectric, if you will, and I'm really learning exactly how this thing behaves. And it is, wow. It is a whole new world. And those of you who have dabbled in this and are proficient in this know what I'm talking about. And those of you that haven't, man, definitely look into it. Penguin, these machines are unbelievable. They are commercial grade machines. They are water cooled and they can run 24/7. Not that I would need to do that, but if ever I get into product development and I start expanding this business into something else, which I do plan on doing, I can run these things all the time. So everything linked down below. I'm gonna link the software Vectric, and of course, I'm gonna link this machine as well. Everything Penguin has to offer is gonna be in the description. You guys, it's definitely worth a look because this is really one of the more professional pieces of equipment that I have, and it is unreal, all right? I'm just gonna say it now. All right, thank you guys so much, and let's go into a proper outro. I can't end it like this. Let's go. Well, guys, there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me. This was the first attempt at a sign that you saw me make previously, and he wanted a little bit bigger, so I went ahead and did that for him. This was a cool commission, and I want to thank my client as well. Also, I want to thank Penguin. This is an unbelievable machine, and to do things like this, just to make your workflow a little bit easier, is huge. So, again, thank you so much for joining me, guys. I want to thank each and every one of you always for being here each and every week. The comments are still amazing, and I can't thank you enough. This is a dream come true to be doing this, and really, I mean, I just can't wait to grow and learn and do more things around here and share what I've learned with you. And I'm also working on something else. This machine can do some pretty cool stuff, man. But that's for another video. All right, guys, have a great day. My name's Chris. I'll see you on the next one.